60 seconds before Marcus realizes the lock is broken. Arya's fingers work the final silver bar loose from the window frame, metal burning through the thin layer of cloth she'd wrapped around her palms 3 nights ago. The fabric is already soaked through with blood and something that might be lymph fluid from the blisters that keep forming and rupturing. Pain screams up her forearms, but her hands don't stop moving because stopping means Finn stays in this nightmare, and she's already decided that's not an option anymore. 40 seconds. The boy crouches behind her in the shadows of the cell, gray eyes too wide and too old, watching her every movement. He's 7 years old. 7. And he knows better than to make a sound, because sound means Marcus comes back early, and early means the plan falls apart, and falling apart means they both die here in this fortress built into the Cascade Mountains, where the stones sweat with cold and the screams echo for hours after the vocal cords give out. 30 seconds. The bar comes free with a grinding whisper of metal on stone. Arya catches it before it can clatter to the floor, nerve endings firing white-hot protest as silver kisses her raw palms again. She'd found this weakness 6 weeks ago during a cleansing session when Marcus had chained her too close to the outer wall and she'd seen the mortar crumbling around this particular bar. 6 weeks of working it loose during the 3-hour window each night when the guards changed shifts and the fortress settled into its deepest silence. 6 weeks of silver poisoning seeping into her bloodstream, drop by drop, because she couldn't wear gloves or wrappings during the day without Marcus noticing. 20 seconds. She turns to Finn and his face is a mask of terror, trying very hard to be brave. The moonlight coming through the window catches his features, and for the 10,000th time since they put her in this cell across from his, something in her chest recognizes him with a certainty that makes no sense. She doesn't know her own name most days. The torture and the drugs and whatever else they've been pumping into her system have turned her memories into Swiss cheese full of holes and missing pieces that she can't quite reach. But this boy, this small, fragile, determined boy who never cries after they hurt him, who goes somewhere else in his head when the pain gets too bad, who calls her his big wolf because she's been giving him half her food rations since the first week. This boy matters more than her own life. 15 seconds. The window opens onto a 40-foot drop down the cliff face into the river that cuts through the valley below. The water runs fast this time of year, fed by snowmelt from the peaks that surround this isolated hellhole. Fast enough to kill if you land wrong. Fast enough to sweep you downstream and away from the search parties that will come looking. Fast enough to, maybe possibly if they're very lucky, carry a 7-year-old boy to safety. 10 seconds. Arya grips his thin shoulders and feels the knobs of his spine through the rough prison shirt they've dressed him in. Her voice comes out raw from screaming earlier today during her session in the hunting room. The words have to be enough because there's no time for anything else. Jump on 3. Don't look down. His hands clutch at her forearms, so small his fingers can't wrap all the way around. The desperation in his eyes cuts deeper than any silver blade Marcus has ever used on her. What about you? The guard's footsteps are echoing closer down the corridor now. Boots on stone in that distinctive pattern that means Marcus is doing his rounds 30 seconds early, because of course he is, because the universe has never once cut her a break in this place. I'm right behind you. The lie tastes bitter, but necessary. Someone has to stay behind to seal the window after he's through. Someone has to buy him enough time to hit the water and get swept around the bend before Marcus can get a clean shot. And that someone is the adult in this scenario, the one who's been in this place long enough to know that the guards shoot first and ask questions, never when prisoners try to escape. 5 seconds. She lifts him to the window opening. His body weighs almost nothing, all sharp angles and hollow spaces where a healthy child should have soft growing flesh. They've been starving him slowly, just like they've been starving her, keeping them weak enough to control but alive enough to serve whatever purpose brought them here in the first place. 1. Finn's fingers dig into the stone frame. 2. Marcus's key scrapes metal in the lock of the outer corridor door. 3. She pushes him through the window and gravity takes over. His body drops away into darkness, and she has exactly 1 second to track his fall before she has to duck back, grab the loose bar wedge, it back into place as footsteps pound closer and the corridor door crashes open, and Marcus's voice cuts through the air like a whip, shouting, "What in the his eyes?" find her at the window frame, just as she's shoving the bar back into its slot. Recognition and fury flash across his scarred face in the same instant. The nickname they gave her, Shadow, spills from his lips as a curse while his hand drops to the pistol at his belt. But he's too far away, and she's already moving, throwing herself back from the window as the first shot cracks through the space where her head was 3 seconds ago. The bullet sparks off stone. Sound explodes through the confined space of the cell loud enough to wake every prisoner in this wing, loud enough to bring the other guards running. Marcus hits her cell door with enough force to rattle the hinges. His bulk fills the doorway, 6 feet of muscle and scar tissue and casual cruelty that's been her world for longer than she can remember. The gun comes up again, but this time he's not aiming to miss. His voice drops to that quiet register that's somehow worse than screaming. You just cost me my best prisoner. Arya's back presses against the far wall. There's nowhere to go. No clever escape route she's been planning. This was always going to be a one-way trip for her. Getting Finn out was the goal. Everything after is just consequence. The Luna will be furious. The Luna. That name again. The woman whose face sometimes flickers through the broken fragments of Arya's memory, there and gone before she can grab hold of the details. Dark hair, blue eyes, a smile that might have been kind once, or maybe never was. Marcus holsters his weapon because bullets leave evidence and questions, and he's going to want to do this the old-fashioned way. His hands are already curling into fists as he crosses the cell in 3 strides. Arya tries to call up the wolf she knows lives somewhere under her skin, but the silver cuffs locked around her wrists burn hot, and the wolf's bane they've been dosing her with daily keeps her human and helpless. His first punch catches her across the jaw and the world tilts sideways. She tastes copper. Her knees hit stone, but she doesn't go all the way down because staying upright means he has to work harder to break her, and every second he spends on her is another second Finn has to get farther downstream. The second punch drives the air from her lungs. The third opens a cut above her eye that immediately starts bleeding down into her vision. Marcus doesn't hurry. He's an artist at this, knows exactly how much damage a body can take before it stops being useful, knows where to hit. So it hurts like hell, but doesn't cause permanent damage to anything vital. After all, they need her functional. Broken but functional. When he finally lets her crumple to the floor, her entire body is singing with pain in 1,000 different frequencies. Blood pools under her cheek. The stone is cold and she's so tired, bone-deep exhausted in a way that goes beyond the physical beating. But underneath the pain and the fatigue, there's something else. Something small and bright and absolutely worth it. Finn is in the river by now. The current is carrying him away from this place. He's free. That knowledge is enough to let her smile through the blood and the split lip. Marcus sees the smile and something ugly crosses his face. He grabs her by the hair and hauls her upright, dragging her toward the door. Other guards are appearing in the corridor now, drawn by the gunshot and the commotion. Their faces blurred together in Arya's swimming vision. Take her to the hunting room. The hunting room. She knows that place intimately. The long wooden table stained dark with old blood. The shackles hanging from chains in the ceiling. The silver tools laid out with surgical precision on metal trays. The iron mask they use when they want to keep her from shifting. Not that her wolf has surfaced in months thanks to the wolfsbane and the constant silver contact. They've been taking her there twice a week for as long as she can remember, teaching her obedience, they call it, breaking her down, making her forget who she was before this place, erasing the person she used to be piece by piece until nothing remains but Shadow the prisoner, who follows orders and doesn't make trouble, and certainly doesn't help little boys escape through windows in the dead of night. The guards drag her down corridors that twist and turn through the fortress's interior. She tries to track the route, but the beating has left her disoriented, and the blood in her eye isn't helping. Stone walls press in from all sides, ancient and uncaring. Somewhere overhead, regular people are living regular lives, walking free under open sky, not knowing or not caring that beneath their feet, there's a warren of cells holding wolves who disappeared from their packs years ago. The hunting room door swings open. They throw her inside hard enough that she skids across the floor and crashes into the table legs. Pain explodes fresh in her shoulder, but she's getting used to that, the way agony just becomes background noise after a while, constant and almost comfortable in its familiarity. Marcus enters behind her, flanked by two other guards whose names she's never learned. One of them is carrying the leather restraints. The other has the wolfsbane cloth already soaked in the bitter-smelling tincture that will keep her human no matter how badly she wants to shift. They haul her onto the table and strap her down with efficient brutality. Leather bites into her ankles, her wrists across her chest. The position stretches her body taut, vulnerable, every nerve ending, exposed, and waiting. Marcus leans over her, close enough that she can smell the coffee on his breath and the gun oil on his clothes. "You're too attached to that boy. That's your weakness." The words slip into her consciousness and stick there like barbs. Weakness. Is that what caring about a child means in this place? Is compassion something to be beaten out of her, along with her memories and her name and her sense of self? His hand moves to the tray of silver implements. The brand is already heating in the brazier, metal glowing cherry red in the dim light. She's felt that brand before, knows the smell of her own skin burning, knows the sound she'll make when he presses it to her ribs, where the old scars have barely healed from last week. "The Luna said you'd be like this," said maternal instinct runs too deep to erase. Maternal, the word detonates in her mind like a flashbang. Maternal instinct. Maternal, as in mother, as in... The implications cascade through her faster than she can process them. The way she's been protecting Finn since the day they put her in the cell across from his. The bone-deep certainty that his pain is her pain. The absolute conviction that his survival matters more than her own. The way her body recognizes him, even when her broken memory doesn't. Is Finn her son? The question is still forming when Marcus brings the brand down, and white-hot agony erases all thought. She screams, can't help it. The silver burns through skin and muscle, searing pain directly into nerve endings that light up like a fucking Christmas tree. Her back arches against the restraints, hard enough to make the table creak. But don't worry, the boy won't survive those rapids. The words cut through her screaming. Won't survive. Present tense. Which means they don't know yet if he made it. Which means there's still hope. And soon you'll forget he ever existed. That threat is worse than the brand. Worse than any physical torture they can devise. They're going to erase Finn from her memory the same way they've erased everything else. Make her forget the boy she just risked everything to save. Turn her into a blank slate that doesn't remember loving anyone or anything. The brand lifts away, and Marcus's face swims back into focus above her. Sweat runs down her temples. Every breath pulls at the fresh burn on her ribs. His voice is almost gentle now, which is somehow more terrifying than rage. We've been erasing your memories for months. Every session, little by little. The Luna wants you empty, clean, ready. Ready for what? The question dies unspoken because Marcus is already reaching for another tool. This one thin and sharp and designed to slide between ribs without puncturing anything immediately fatal. You used to fight harder. Used to scream about your mate, your pack, your position. Now look at you. Can't even remember your own name most days. He's right. She can't. The name Aria lives somewhere in the static of her broken mind, but it feels borrowed, something she's wearing rather than something she owns. And as for mate pack position, those words are empty categories with no concrete reference. Just placeholders for a life she can't access anymore. But Finn, 7 years old, gray eyes, brave beyond reason. That memory she's keeping. That one they don't get to take. The sharp tool touches her skin. She braces for the penetration. But before Marcus can push it deeper, sound erupts from somewhere overhead. Shouting. Running feet. Metal clanging against metal in a rhythm that sounds like alarm bells. Marcus freezes. His head snaps toward the door just as one of the younger guards bursts through, face pale and eyes wide. The words tumble out, panicked and fast. The AlphaKing is here. Everything stops. The tool lifts away from Arya's ribs. Marcus's face goes through a rapid series of expressions: confusion, calculation, fear. The other guards in the room exchange glances that speak volumes about how unexpected and potentially disastrous this development is. AlphaKing. The title rolls around in Arya's head, looking for something to attach to. King means power. Alpha means wolf hierarchy. The combination suggests someone important enough that even Marcus is afraid. Important enough that prisoners are hastily released from restraints and herded out of torture chambers. Important enough that blood is wiped from faces with rough efficiency and torn clothing is straightened as much as possible. Important enough that the entire fortress shifts into controlled panic mode in under 2 minutes. They pull Arya off the table and her legs nearly give out when her feet hit the floor. One of the guards catches her arm to keep her upright, not out of kindness, but because letting her collapse would look bad, and apparently appearances matter now. Marcus grabs her chin and forces her to meet his eyes. His voice is low and dangerous. You say nothing about the boy. Nothing about what happens in this room. You're a prisoner we found during our raid on Blue Moon territory, same as the others. Understand? She doesn't respond, which earns her a shake hard enough to rattle her teeth. Do you understand? The words scrape out of her raw throat. Yes. They drag her through corridors she's never seen before upstairs that spiral toward the upper levels of the fortress. Other prisoners are being herded from their cells, 24 of wolves in various states of damage and despair. Some can walk on their own. Others need support. One woman near the front of the line looks dead on her feet, eyes glazed, an unseeing body held upright only by the guards gripping her arms. Arya tries to catalog faces, looking for anyone she recognizes from the cells around hers. But everything is moving too fast and her vision is still blurry from the beating, and the prisoners all blur together into a mass of suffering humanity. They emerge into a space unlike anything she's seen during her captivity. A throne room massive and carved from black stone that seems to absorb light rather than reflect it. Torches line the walls, flames dancing in brackets shaped like snarling wolves. The ceiling arches high overhead, disappearing into shadows that the firelight can't quite reach. And on a throne at the far end, a woman. Arya's eyes find her, and something in her skull explodes with pain so sudden and so intense that her knees buckle. The guards holding her up tighten their grip, but can't stop her from gasping, can't stop the way her vision fragments into pieces. The woman on the throne, dark hair perfectly arranged, blue eyes cold and assessing, features arranged in an expression of regal concern that doesn't quite reach those eyes. A gown that shimmers like ice in the torchlight, and behind her left ear, barely visible beneath her hair, a birthmark shaped like a crescent moon. Memory tries to surface. A room full of sunlight. Those same hands braiding someone's hair, fingers gentle and practiced. A voice humming something melodic and familiar. Warmth, safety, the feeling of being cared for. Then the memory fractures and pain swallows it whole. Arya's stomach lurches. Bile rises in her throat, but she forces it down because vomiting in front of whoever this Alpha King is seems like a bad strategic move. The woman on the throne rises smoothly, all grace and poise and perfect composure. Her voice carries through the hall, pitched to sound surprised and delighted and concerned all at once. Your Majesty, I had no idea you were coming. Welcome to the fortress. Arya's head is still pounding, but she forces herself to focus to pay attention to the dynamics playing out in this room. The guards are nervous. The woman on the throne is performing concern, but her eyes are calculating already several moves ahead in whatever game is being played here. And the prisoners. Dozens of wolves who disappeared from their packs years ago, some of them looking like they've been here since the fortress was built. All of them chained, and all of them broken in one way or another. All of them about to meet someone important enough to make Marcus sweat. The massive doors at the entrance crash open. The sound reverberates through the throne room like a physical force loud enough to make several of the prisoners flinch. Arya doesn't flinch. She's too busy trying to process the sudden shift in the air itself, the way every wolf in the room reacts to the presence that just entered. It's like gravity increased, like the torches all lean toward the doorway, like something fundamental about the space changed to accommodate whoever is walking through. He enters alone, and the effect is immediate and visceral. Power rolls off him in waves that Arya can feel even through the wolfsbane dulling her senses. It's not just his physical presence, though. That's impressive enough. 6 foot something of muscle and coiled strength, moving with the predatory grace of an apex predator who's never doubted his place at the top of the food chain. It's something deeper, something primal. Every wolf in the room feels it in their bones, Alpha. The real thing, not some pretender with a fancy title. He's dressed in dark combat gear that looks expensive and well-used, the kind of clothing that's been chosen for function over fashion, but somehow manages both. Black pants, dark shirt under a jacket that moves like it's made of shadows. boots that don't make a sound despite his size. Everything about him screams military precision and controlled lethality. His face is all hard angles and sharp edges, built for intimidation rather than beauty, though there's something compelling about the harsh lines of his jaw and the way his dark eyes sweep the room with tactical efficiency. A scar cuts through his left eyebrow. Another runs along his right cheekbone. He's been in fights and won them. But it's his eyes that do it. The way they move across the prisoners, cataloging, assessing, and then they land on Arya and the world stops. Not figuratively, not as some poetic exaggeration. The world actually stops. Time crystallizes into this single moment, his eyes on hers, some recognition flaring there so intense and so unexpected that for a heartbeat, neither of them moves. Neither breathes. Neither exists outside this locked gaze that feels like it's reaching into her chest and grabbing her heart with both hands. Her wolf dormant for months under the weight of wolfsbane, and silver surges up from wherever she's been hiding. Not a full shift, the chemicals won't allow that, but a presence sudden and overwhelming and screaming one word through every nerve in Arya's body. Mate. The certainty hits her with the force of a freight train. This stranger, this Alpha King, walking through a throne room in a torture fortress in the Cascade Mountains, is her mate. She knows it the way she knows her own heartbeat. Knows it despite having no memory of him, no context for why her soul would recognize his when her mind is blank. His reaction is even more dramatic. Every muscle in his body locks tight. His face goes through a dozen expressions in as many seconds: shock, disbelief, desperate hope, devastating relief, and underneath it all, fury so profound that several guards actually step back. The single word leaves his mouth barely above a whisper, but carries through the entire hall. Rhea. Her name. He knows her name, and the way he says it, like a prayer, like a curse, like the answer to a question he's been asking for years, makes something in her chest crack wide open. But she doesn't remember him, has no idea who he is beyond the mate bond singing through her blood. No memory of his face, his voice, his touch. Nothing but this primal recognition that bypasses her broken mind entirely. The woman on the throne moves then, descending the steps with careful grace, her voice pitched to carry concern and surprise in equal measure. Alpha King Kale, what an unexpected honor. I would have prepared a proper welcome if I'd known. His eyes don't leave Arya. Don't even acknowledge the woman speaking. He's moving toward the prisoners, each step deliberate and controlled, like he's afraid sudden movement will make Arya disappear. The guards try to form a barrier, but one look from him and they scatter like leaves in a hurricane. Nothing is going to stand between him and whatever he's trying to reach. Nothing is going to stop him from closing the distance. He's 10 feet away when Arya's brain catches up with her body and panic floods through her. This man, this stranger, is looking at her like she's the most important thing in the universe, and she has no idea why. Can't access whatever history they share. Can't give him whatever he's clearly desperate for. Her mouth opens, but no words come out, because what is she supposed to say? Sorry, I don't know you. Sorry, whatever we had is gone. Sorry they broke me, and I can't remember how to be whoever you think I am. 5 feet away, and she can see the damage on his face, the barely controlled desperation, the grief, the hope that's trying so hard not to be crushed again. His hand rises trembling, slightly reaching for her. When his fingers touch her cheek, the contact sends electricity racing down her spine. His hand is warm, calloused, gentle in a way that suggests he's spent a lot of time learning how to be careful with her. His thumb brushes along her cheekbone and comes away red with blood from the cut above her eye. His voice breaks on her name again, rough with emotion he's not even trying to hide. Is it really you? The question cracks something in her chest. Because yes, apparently it is her. This is Arya. She exists. She has a name and a mate, and a life that exists outside these stone walls. But she can't access any of it. Can't be whatever version of herself he remembers. The honesty scrapes out of her throat. I don't know you, 4 words that land like physical blows. His face does something complicated, pain and understanding, and refusal to accept it all tangled together. His other hand comes up to frame her face now, both palm cradling her like she's something precious and fragile. It's me. It's Kael. The name should mean something, clearly means everything to him. But it's just a sound in her broken memory, no more significant than the wind outside or the crackling torches. Before she can figure out how to respond, a child's voice cuts through the tension like a knife. Mama. Every head in the throne room turns. Arya's heart stops completely. Because stumbling through the still open doors, soaking wet and shaking and covered in river mud, but alive, impossibly alive is Finn. He made it, survived the fall in the rapids and whatever hell it took to climb back up to the fortress. And he came looking for her. The boy sees Arya and runs small legs, eating up distance with single-minded determination. The guards move to intercept, but Kael snarls something wordless and primal that freezes every person in the room. The guards stop mid-motion. The woman on the throne goes rigid. Even the other prisoners hold their breath. Finn crashes into Arya hard enough that she staggers. His wet clothes soak through hers immediately. His arms wrap around her waist with desperate strength, and he's crying now, huge gulping sobs that shake his whole body. Mama, I was so scared. The water was so cold and the current was so fast and I didn't know where I was going, but I remembered you said to follow the river downstream, and I did. And then I saw the lights from the fortress, and I knew I had to come back because I couldn't leave you here. I couldn't. The words pour out in a flood of terror and relief and childish determination. Arya's arms come around him, automatically pulling him close, and every instinct in her body is screaming, "Mind, protect, keep safe." Kael has gone completely still beside her. His eyes are locked on Finn with an intensity that borders on violent. She can see him processing the boy's age, his features, the gray eyes that are apparently distinctive, the way he called Arya Mama. When Kael's gaze snaps back to her face, there's something raw and broken and blazingly hopeful there. His voice is barely a whisper. Finn. Oh gods. Finn. Recognition. He knows this child. And the way he's looking between Arya and the boy, the way his hands are shaking now, the way he's clearly trying not to completely lose his composure in a room full of witnesses. This is his son too. Kael drops to one knee, bringing himself to Finn's eye level. His voice comes out strangled. My boy. My son. Finn turns in Arya's arms, still clinging to her, but looking at Kael now with confusion and fear. And something else, something that might be recognition, trying to surface through whatever memory suppression they've been using on him too. Kael doesn't touch him yet, doesn't move to take him from Arya, just stays there on one knee, drinking in the sight of this child like he's witnessing a resurrection. I thought I lost you, both of you. I searched everywhere. I never stopped looking. The words are addressed to both of them, but Arya feels them land in her chest like stones. This man, this mate she can't remember, has been searching for them. For how long? Months, years, long enough that finding them again is clearly breaking him apart. The woman on the throne clears her throat delicately, and every head snaps back to her. She's descended the steps now, standing close enough that Arya can see the calculation in her eyes, even as her face performs perfect concern. Your Majesty, this is extraordinary. We found them here in this fortress. As you know, we recently took control of Blue Moon Pack's territory after their leadership collapsed. Her hand gestures elegantly at the prisoners. I came to inspect their holdings and discovered they'd been hiding all these disappeared wolves, including apparently your mate and heir. The words are smooth, practiced, but there's something off about them, something that doesn't quite line up with the reality Arya knows. This woman is lying, or at least not telling the whole truth. And the way she's watching them now, the micro-expression of displeasure before her features smooth back into concern, she didn't expect Kael to show up, didn't want him to find them. Kael's rising to his feet, pulling Arya and Finn with him, positioning himself between them and the throne. His voice is pure alpha command, the kind of tone that makes everyone straighten instinctively. You were holding my mate and son in chains, not a question. An accusation. The woman on the throne, Celeste, Arya's memory supplies suddenly her name is Celeste. Doesn't flinch, but something flickers behind her eyes. They were found this way, Your Majesty. I was merely ordering the guards to have them cleaned and examined, before his growl cuts her off mid-sentence. It's not loud, but the effect is immediate. Every wolf in the room feels it in their bones. Alpha's rage barely leashed. His eyes are cataloging the damage now, the bruises on Arya's face, the blood still seeping from the cut above her eye. The way she's holding herself, favoring her left side where the ribs are bruised or cracked from Marcus's fists. The fresh burn mark that's probably visible through her torn shirt. And Finn, the too thin frame, the fading bruises on his arms, the terror in his eyes that speaks of systematic abuse over an extended period. Kale's voice drops to something so quiet and dangerous that it's almost worse than shouting. Who dared to lay their hands on my wife and my wife? Son. The words click something into place in Arya's head. She has a family, had one. This is her mate and her child, and they were taken from her memories, erased identities, stripped away, reduced to numbers and nicknames in a torture facility. The rage that fills her is cold and sharp and absolutely clear-headed. Marcus. His name is Marcus. He's the head guard. He's been torturing us for months. Her voice sounds strange in her own ears, stronger than she expected. Kale's eyes snap to her face and something passes between them. Understanding shared fury, a promise of retribution. Celeste is still performing concern, but her voice has an edge now. Your Majesty, these are serious accusations. Perhaps we should discuss this privately after you've had time to know. The word lands like a hammer. Kale's hand is on Arya's shoulder now, protective and possessive and absolutely certain. We discuss this now in front of everyone. I want to know exactly what happened here, and I want the person responsible. His eyes sweep the room, landing on guards on Celeste, on the other prisoners watching with varying degrees of hope and terror. Someone is going to answer for this, and someone is going to pay. The threat hangs in the air like smoke. Arya can feel Finn trembling against her small body, racked with shivers from the cold river water, and the fear and the impossible relief of not being separated from her again. She holds him tighter and meets Kael's eyes over his head. This man is her mate. She doesn't remember him, but her wolf knows him, and her body recognizes him, and every instinct she has is screaming that he's safe. He's protection. He's home. Celeste is still talking, words flowing smooth and reasonable. Of course, Your Majesty. We want answers too. These wolves were found in deplorable conditions, and we're still investigating. Kael spins on her, and the movement is so fast, so fluid, that Celeste actually takes a step back before she can stop herself. You are acting Luna of Silver Crestpack in my absence. That gives you authority over our territory and our holdings. His voice is deadly calm. This fortress is built on Blue Moon land, which we conquered 3 months ago. Which means it's been under your jurisdiction for 3 months. Which means every prisoner in this room has been your responsibility for 3 months. The math is brutal and unavoidable. Celeste's face goes carefully blank. So either you're complicit in their torture, or you're incompetent enough that you didn't notice a fully operational prison running under your authority. Which is it? Silence stretches through the throne room. Arya watches Celeste's micro-expressions, the flash of panic before the mask slides back into place, the way her eyes dart toward the guards, and then away, the slight tension in her shoulders that suggests she's calculating responses and finding them all wanting. Your Majesty is understandably upset. If you'd known what, you'd have done something. He takes a step toward her, and Celeste holds her ground, but it costs her. Arya can see the effort it takes not to retreat. My mate and my son have been missing for years. And I find them in chains in a facility that's been under your control for months. I find them beaten and starved and traumatized. And you want me to believe you had no idea the accusation lands heavy. Some of the guards are shifting nervously now, clearly uncomfortable with how this is going. Celeste's eyes narrow slightly, and Arya sees it, the calculation, the decision to change tactics. Celeste's voice takes on a new quality, something almost regretful. Your Majesty, I understand you're overwhelmed. Finding them alive after all this time, it's a miracle. But perhaps we should get them medical attention for medical attention. Kael bites off each word. After months of neglect, after systematic torture, after everything that was done to them under your watch. He turns away from her dismissively, and Arya watches something ugly flash across Celeste's face before she smooths it away. This woman is dangerous. Whatever she's been playing at Kael's arrival has disrupted her plans badly. Kael's attention is back on Arya and Finn now, and when he speaks, his voice has gentled considerably. Can you walk? Arya nods, even though she's not entirely sure it's true. Kael seems to sense her uncertainty because he moves closer, offering support without demanding it. His hand hovers near her elbow, not touching, waiting for permission. She takes it, lets him steady her. Because she's exhausted and hurt, and confused, and this stranger who is apparently her mate is the first person in months who's looked at her like she matters, like she's more than just a prisoner to be broken. Finn hasn't let go of her other hand. His grip is tight enough that her fingers are going numb, but she doesn't care. He's alive and safe, and that's all that matters. Kael is issuing orders now, voice carrying that alpha authority that makes people move. Release every prisoner in this fortress. Get them medical attention, food, clean clothes. I want statements from each of them about their treatment and who was responsible. His eyes land on Marcus, who's been standing near the back trying to blend into the shadows. And I want that one in chains. Now. Guards move, not the ones who've been working in the fortress, but ones who apparently came with KL wearing different uniforms and responding to his authority without question. Marcus tries to run, but he makes it maybe 3 steps before he's tackled and restrained. Kael watches with cold satisfaction as silver cuffs are locked around Marcus's wrists. The head guard's face goes from defiant to afraid in the span of a heartbeat. He knows what's coming, knows that the power structure just shifted fundamentally, and he's on the wrong side of it now. Your Majesty, I was just following orders. Whose orders? The question cracks like a whip. Marcus's mouth opens and closes. His eyes dart towards Celeste and then away, too quick to be meaningless. Arya sees Kael clock the look, file it away for later. Who ordered you to torture my mate and my son? Marcus is sweating now, clearly caught between terror of Kael and terror of whoever he's been working for. The silence stretches long enough to become damning all on its own. Kael's patience snaps. He crosses the distance between them in 3 strides, and Marcus flinches back, but there's nowhere to go with guards holding his arms. I'm going to ask you one more time, and if I don't like your answer, I'm going to let my wolf ask the questions. And he's not nearly as patient as I am. The threat is clear. Marcus's resistance crumbles. The words tumble out fast and panicked. The Luna. She paid us, said we needed to keep the woman secure and obedient, said we needed to break her wolf, said we needed to make sure she forgot everything. The confession detonates through the throne room like a bomb. Every eye swings towards Celeste. Arya's heart is pounding because this confirms what her gut was already telling her: this woman is responsible. This woman who apparently acts as Luna in Kael's absence. This woman whose face flickers through Arya's broken memories with warmth and affection that now feels like poison. Celeste's composure finally cracks. Her face goes through rapid changes, shock, fury, fear, before settling on cold calculation. Your Majesty, this man is clearly lying, trying to save himself by implicating me. I would never. You were my friend. Arya doesn't recognize her own voice. It comes out hoarse and wondering and absolutely certain. Fragments are clicking into place now, pieces of memory forcing their way through the suppression. A younger version of Celeste smiling warmly, braiding Arya's hair, helping her dress for some formal occasion. The feeling of sisterhood and trust. You were my best friend, and you did this to me. Celeste's eyes meet hers, and for one moment the mask drops completely. What Arya sees there is pure, undiluted hatred there, and gone so fast she might have imagined it. Then Celeste is performing innocence again, hand pressed to her heart. Arya, I've been searching for you for years. I've been helping Kael look everywhere. You're confused. The trauma, I'm not confused. The certainty in her voice surprises even herself. But it's there, solid and unshakable. This woman is lying, has been lying for years. And whatever game she's playing, it's over now. Kael's hand tightens on her shoulder support and solidarity in that simple touch. When he speaks, his voice carries the weight of absolute authority. Celeste Vale, by my authority as Alpha King, you are hereby stripped of your title as acting Luna, pending full investigation into these accusations. Celeste's face goes white. The guards who came with her are shifting uncertainly, clearly torn between their loyalty to her and their submission to Kael's rank. You will submit to questioning under True Stone. You will account for every prisoner held in this facility during your jurisdiction. And if Marcus's confession is verified, his voice drops into something that makes even Arya's wolf whimper. Then you will face trial for conspiracy, kidnapping, and attempted murder of the Alpha King's mate and heir. The formal charges land like hammer blows. Celeste is trapped now, can't talk her way out without looking guilty, can't run without confirming the accusations. Her eyes dart around the room looking for allies and finding none. Even her own guards are backing away, unwilling to tie themselves to what increasingly looks like treason. Take her to the dungeons. Separate cell constant guard. She speaks to no one without my permission. Celeste opens her mouth to argue, to threaten to bargain, but no words come out because what is there to say? The evidence is standing in front of her in the form of Arya and Finn beaten and traumatized, and very much alive when they should have been broken beyond recognition. The guards move to take her, and she resists for a moment before realizing it's futile. As they lead her past Arya, Celeste leans in close enough to whisper, "This isn't over." The words are meant to be threatening, but they sound desperate. Arya meets her eyes and doesn't flinch. Yes, it is. Then Celeste is being dragged away, and the throne room erupts into controlled chaos as KL's people move to secure the facility and process the prisoners, and begin the massive task of documenting what amounts to a war crime operation running for years under everyone's noses. Kael turns back to Arya and Finn. His expression is carefully controlled, but she can see the emotion threatening to break through relief and grief and overwhelming love for these two people he thought he had lost forever. "Let's get you out of here." The statement is simple but carries so much weight. Out of here. Away from the torture and the chains and the stone walls that have been their entire world for months or years. Back to whatever life existed before all this. Arya wants to feel relief, wants to feel safe, but all she feels is exhaustion and confusion and the bone-deep certainty that leaving this place doesn't mean escaping it. Whatever was done to her here, whatever memories were erased and traumas inflicted, those things are coming with her. She looks down at Finn, who's still gripping her hand like she might vanish if he lets go. His gray eyes, Kael's eyes, she realizes now, the same distinctive shade that are wide and trusting, despite everything he's been through. For him, she'll try. She'll walk out of this fortress and into whatever comes next. She'll learn to be whoever this Arya person was before. She'll figure out how to be a mate and a mother and a Luna when those are just words without meaning. But first she needs to take one step and then another and keep moving until the stone walls are behind them. Kael seems to understand without being told. He doesn't rush her, doesn't try to carry her or take Finn from her arms, just stays close, a solid presence at her shoulder, ready to catch her if she falls, but letting her walk on her own terms. They move toward the massive doors that lead out of the throne room, past guards who bow their heads, past prisoners who are being released from chains and assessed by medics, past the emptied throne where Celeste sat performing a role she'd stolen. The night air hits Arya's face like a benediction, cold and clean and smelling of pine trees and snow. The fortress is built into the side of a mountain, she realizes, looking out over a valley bathed in moonlight. The river that carried Finn away winds through the bottom silver ribbon, cutting through darkness. She'd forgotten what the sky looked like, how many stars there are, how big the world is beyond stone walls and torture chambers. Finn is shivering against her from cold now, rather than fear. Kael immediately shrugs out of his jacket and wraps it around the boy's shoulders. The garment swallows Finn's small frame, but he clutches it gratefully. "Thank you." The words are soft, but Kael's reaction is immediate. A slight intake of breath, like hearing his son speak to him willingly, is more than he dared hope for. There's a vehicle waiting at the base of the fortress access road. Something sleek and black and expensive looking, completely out of place against the rough mountain terrain. A driver stands at attention, but Kael waves him off, apparently choosing to drive himself. He opens the rear door and helps Arya and Finn inside. The interior is warm and comfortable, leather seats and tinted windows and climate control that starts pumping heat immediately. Finn curls into Arya's side, still shaking, but already starting to relax as warmth seeps into his cold bones. Kael slides into the driver's seat and glances back at them through the rearview mirror. His eyes meet Arya's and hold for a long moment. "We're going home." Home. Another word that should mean something but doesn't. But Arya nods anyway, because where else is there to go? The vehicle starts moving down the mountain road, leaving the fortress behind. Arya watches through the rear window as the stone structure grows smaller, torchlight flickering in windows like eyes watching their escape. Part of her keeps expecting something to stop them, for guards to appear and drag them back, for this to be revealed as some elaborate new torture. But nothing happens. The fortress disappears around a bend in the road, And then it's just forest and darkness and the sound of tires on pavement. Finn's breathing is evening out. He's falling asleep despite everything body recognizing safety enough to shut down and start processing. Arya envies him that. Her own body is screaming with exhaustion, but her mind won't stop spinning, trying to make sense of everything that just happened. Kale's voice drifts back from the front seat, quiet enough not to wake Finn. The Silver Crest Pack Castle is about 2 hours from here. There's a medical team waiting. Elena, she's our pack healer. She'll examine you both and start treatment. Arya absorbs this information. 2 hours, medical treatment, a healer named Elena. Do you remember her, Elena? The question is tentative, like he's afraid of the answer. Arya searches her broken memory and comes up empty. No, I don't remember anything, just fragments. Flashes that don't make sense. Silence from the front seat. She wonders if he's crying, but can't see his face to know for sure. When he speaks again, his voice is rough. That's okay, we have time. I'll tell you everything. We'll help you remember. But what if I never do? What if whatever they did to me is permanent? The fear spills out before she can stop it. KL's hands tighten on the steering wheel. Then we make new memories. Better ones. The certainty in his voice should be comforting. Instead, it just makes Arya feel inadequate. This man clearly loved whoever she was before. Loved her enough to search for years, to never give up, to walk into a fortress prison and demand answers. What if the woman he loved doesn't exist anymore? What if all that's left is this broken shell with holes where memories should be? But she doesn't voice these thoughts, just pulls Finn closer and stares out the window at the passing forest. Pine trees blur together in the darkness. Occasionally, headlights from oncoming traffic illuminate the interior of the vehicle in brief flashes before plunging them back into shadow. The road starts to descend, winding down from the mountains into lower elevations. The forest changes, fewer alpine species, more deciduous trees mixed with evergreens. Signs of civilization start appearing. A gas station closed for the night. A small town with houses dark and sleeping. A highway interchange. They're in Oregon now, Arya realizes reading a sign. The fortress was somewhere in the Washington Cascades. Silver Crest Pack territory must be further south. Kyle handles the vehicle with practiced ease, taking curves smoothly enough not to wake Finn. He's clearly done this drive before, many times probably searching for them in every corner of Pack territory and beyond. The guilt hits Arya unexpectedly. This man spent years looking for her. Years of grief and searching and refusing to give up hope. And she can't even remember his face, can't give him the reunion he clearly desperately needs. I'm sorry. The apology slips out barely above a whisper. KL's eyes find hers in the mirror. For what? For not remembering. For making you search so long. For not being whoever you need me to be. His jaw clenches. One hand leaves the steering wheel and reaches back through the gap between seats, palm up, offering. Arya stares at it for a long moment before carefully shifting Finn's weight and reaching forward to take it. His hand engulfs hers, warm and calloused, and absolutely steady. You don't have anything to apologize for. None of this is your fault. But no, the word is gentle but absolute. You survived. You kept our son alive. You are here. That's enough. That's everything. His thumb brushes across her knuckles in a gesture that feels familiar, even though she has no memory of it. Her wolf preens at the contact, pushing at the wolfsbane's suppression to get closer to her mate. The vehicle crests a hill and suddenly the landscape opens up below them. A valley stretched out in moonlight, dotted with lights from what must be a decent-sized town. And rising above it all, on a cliff overlooking the valley, a castle. Not metaphorical. An actual castle, all stone towers and defensive walls and peaked roofs. It looks like something transplanted from medieval Europe, except the architecture has a distinctly American frontier quality to it, rougher, more practical, built to withstand wilderness rather than human armies. Home. Kale's voice carries pride and relief in equal measure. Arya stares at the structure, trying to feel anything resembling recognition. This is supposed to be her home. She lived there, raised Finn there, built a life there. But it's just a building to her. Impressive, certainly, but no more familiar than the fortress she just escaped. They drive through the town, Silvercrest, according to the welcome sign. Even at this late hour, there are people out. Wolves, Arya realizes, able to sense their nature now that she's away from the wolfsbane saturation of the fortress. They turn to watch the vehicle pass recognition on their faces as they spot Kyle in the driver's seat. Word must spread fast because by the time they start up the winding road toward the castle, people are emerging from houses, standing on porches. A few even follow in their own vehicles' headlights, creating a procession. Kyle mutters something under his breath that might be a curse. They're going to want to see you, to welcome you home. But I'll keep them back. You need rest and medical attention, not a parade. Arya is grateful for that. The thought of facing crowds of strangers who know her but she doesn't remember is overwhelming. Better to deal with that later after she's had time to process everything that just happened. The castle gates open as they approach, iron and wood swinging wide to admit them. Guards in formal uniforms line the entrance, standing at attention, but Arya can see the shock on their faces as the vehicle passes. They weren't told she was coming home, weren't prepared for this. The vehicle rolls to a stop in a large courtyard. Stone walls rise on all sides, torches blazing in brackets, creating dancing shadows across cobblestones. A woman is running across the courtyard toward them, silver hair flying behind her, and Arya's hand instinctively moves to Finn protectively before her conscious mind can catch up. Kale's voice is reassuring. That's Elena, our healer. She's safe. The woman Elena reaches the vehicle as Kale is climbing out. She's older than Arya expected, maybe in her 60s, with a face that speaks of wisdom and kindness in equal measure. Her eyes are bright with tears as she looks into the back seat. Oh, thank the moon. I'd almost given up hope. Her voice is warm and broken at the same time. She clearly knows Arya cared about her, has been grieving her loss. The weight of all these relationships Arya can't remember presses down on her chest. Kale opens the rear door, and Arya carefully shifts Finn, trying not to wake him, but he stirs anyway, gray eyes blinking open sleepily. Where are we, home, little wolf? We're home. The nickname slips out automatically, and Finn's face brightens with recognition, even through his exhaustion. He remembers that nickname, even if he doesn't remember much else. Elena is making soft, distressed sounds as she catalogs the visible damage on both of them. Bruises cuts the way Arya moves carefully, like her ribs hurt the too thin frame on Finn, suggesting prolonged malnutrition. Let's get you both inside. I have the medical wing prepared. Arya forces herself to move to step out of the vehicle on legs that feel like they might give out any second. Kyle is there, immediately offering support without demanding it. Elena takes Finn gently when Arya's arms start shaking from his weight. Come on, sweetheart. Let's get you looked at. Finn goes reluctantly, eyes locked on Arya like he's afraid she'll disappear if he looks away. Arya nods at him, trying to project confidence she doesn't feel. I'll be right there, I promise. They move through the castle entrance into a great hall that takes Arya's breath away. Vaulted ceilings supported by massive wooden beams. Tapestries on stone walls depicting wolves and forests and battles. A grand staircase sweeping up to a second-floor gallery. Chandeliers made of antlers and iron blazing with light. It's beautiful and overwhelming and absolutely foreign. More people are appearing, servants, guards, pack members who live in the castle itself. They're all staring at her with varying expressions of shock and joy and disbelief. A few are openly crying. One woman actually falls to her knees. Kale growls low in his throat, and everyone immediately backs off, giving them space. He's carved a path through the crowd, herding Arya and Elena and Finn toward a corridor that branches off the main hall. The medical wing is surprisingly modern, at odds with the medieval aesthetic of the rest of the castle. Clean white walls, sterile surfaces, equipment that looks like it belongs in a hospital rather than a pack house. Elena leads them to a large examination room with 2 beds. I'll check Finn first, then you. Okay. Arya nods, grateful for Elena's gentle competence. The healer gets Finn settled on one of the beds, talking to him softly as she starts a preliminary examination. Checking his vitals, looking at the bruises, palpating his abdomen for internal damage. Kale stands near the door, clearly torn between wanting to stay close and not wanting to crowd them. Arya can feel his eyes on her, but she's watching Elena work, cataloging the healer's techniques and tools, because information is survival. And she still doesn't feel entirely safe despite being miles from the fortress. Elena's face grows more grim as the examination progresses. She pulls out instruments Arya doesn't recognize, running them over Finn's small body. Arya catches fragments of muttered diagnoses, malnutrition, dehydration, old fractures that healed poorly. signs of prolonged silver exposure. When Elena checks Finn's blood pressure and heart rate, she makes a sound of distress. How long? The question is directed at Arya. She tries to think to calculate time when there were no calendars or clocks or ways to track days except the rhythm of torture sessions and meal deliveries. I don't know. Months at least. Maybe more than a year. Elena's hands are shaking slightly as she prepares an IV line. I'm going to give you some fluids, sweetheart, and some medicine to help your body heal. It might make you sleepy. Finn nods, too exhausted to protest. The needle slides in smoothly, and Elena tapes it in place, adjusting the drip rate carefully. Within minutes, Finn's eyes are drooping, the medication pulling him into real sleep, the kind his body desperately needs. Elena turns to Arya, and the healer's expression has hardened into something fierce. Your turn. On the bed, Arya climbs onto the second examination table, every movement reminding her of injuries she's been ignoring. Elena's examination is thorough and increasingly horrified. She catalogs each burn mark, each bruise, the poorly healed cuts, the way Arya's ribs move wrong when she breathes. 3 cracked ribs, second-degree burns across your right side. Extensive bruising, consistent with systematic beating. Signs of silver poisoning. Wolfsbane saturation so complete, I'm surprised your wolf is even conscious. Elena's voice is clinical, but Arya can hear the rage underneath. The healer pulls out syringes, vials, IV bags. I'm going to start you on chelation therapy to pull the silver out of your system. Anti-inflammatories for the swelling. Pain medication if you'll take it. Will it help with the memories? The question stops Elena's hands mid-motion. The healer's eyes meet Arya's, and the pity there is almost unbearable. I don't know, honey. If they use magic to suppress your memories, it's beyond my ability to fix. But getting the silver and wolfsbane out of your system might help your wolf, and she might be able to trigger some recall. Might, maybe, possibly, no guarantees. Arya nods anyway, because what choice does she have? Elena starts the IV, adds medications, adjusts drips. The pain relief kicks in fast, turning the sharp agony of her injuries into distant throbbing. The exhaustion she's been fighting finally wins, pulling at her consciousness with heavy hands. Sleep. Elena's voice is gentle but firm. You're safe here. Kael won't let anything happen to you. Just rest. Arya tries to fight it, but the medication is too strong and her body is too depleted. Her eyes drift closed despite her best efforts. The last thing she registers is Kael's hand finding her as warm and steady, an anchor in the darkness, pulling her under. When she wakes, sunlight is streaming through a window she doesn't remember, and Kael is slumped in a chair beside her bed, still holding her hand, having apparently not moved all night. His face is exhausted and marked with lines of stress, but when her eyes open and meet his, relief floods his expression so intensely it takes her breath away. You're here. You're real. This isn't a dream. His voice is rough, like he's been crying or shouting or both. Arya squeezes his hand because words feel inadequate. They've escaped the fortress, but the hard part is just beginning. Figuring out how to be these people they apparently used to be, how to rebuild a life that exists only in fragments in other people's memories. How to move forward when the past is a locked door she can't open. But for now, in this moment, with sunlight warm on her face and her mate's hand in hers, Arya lets herself believe that maybe possibly there's hope. The castle swallows them whole. Arya stands in the entrance hall, watching servants weep openly at her return. Their faces familiar in a way that makes her skin crawl because she should know them but doesn't. An older woman actually falls to her knees, hands clasped like prayer, thanking the moon for bringing their Luna home. Kael's hand tightens on her elbow, steering her through the crowd that keeps trying to touch her, to welcome her to claim some piece of the miracle. His growl cuts through the noise and everyone backs away, immediately giving them space to breathe. Elena leads them deeper into the castle toward the medical wing. The corridors twist and turn stone, giving way to cleaner spaces with white walls and modern equipment that looks wrong against medieval architecture. Finn hasn't let go of Arya's hand since they got in the vehicle, small fingers gripping tight enough to hurt. The examination room has 2 beds, and Elena gets Finn settled first, talking softly while she works. Checking vitals, cataloging damage, making distressed sounds when she finds old fractures, healed crooked, and scars that shouldn't exist on 7-year-old skin. Arya watches from the other bed where Elena insisted she sit. The healer moves between them efficiently, starting IVs, administering medications, explaining treatments in calm tones that don't quite hide her fury at what was done to them. Silver poisoning in both of you. Wolfsbane saturation so complete. I'm surprised your wolves are even conscious. Malnutrition, dehydration, systematic trauma. Elena's hands shake slightly as she adjusts Finn's IV drip. How long were you there? Arya tries to count, but time in the fortress was measured in torture sessions and meal deliveries, not days or weeks. I don't know. Months at least for me. Maybe longer. Elena makes a sound that might be a sob or might be rage. She turns to Arya and the examination is thorough and increasingly horrified. Cracked ribs, burns, bruising, consistent with systematic beating, evidence of repeated silver exposure designed to suppress shifting. They were trying to break your wolf completely, keep you human and helpless. It worked. Arya's wolf has been a whisper in the back of her mind for so long, she'd almost forgotten what it felt like to have that animal presence strong and vital. Can you fix it? Elena's expression softens. The physical damage will heal. The wolfsbane and silver will flush from your system with chelation therapy. Your wolf should recover fully within a month. And the memories. The healer's silence is answer enough. Magic-induced amnesia is beyond her skill set. If Arya is going to remember her past, it won't be through medical intervention. Finn is already asleep, exhausted body finally allowing itself to rest now that he's somewhere safe. Elena tucks a blanket around his thin frame with maternal care that makes Arya's chest ache. You should rest too. Your body needs time to heal. But Arya's eyes find Chaol standing near the door, watching them both with that careful intensity that speaks of barely controlled emotion. He hasn't left since they arrived, hasn't even sat down, just stands there, like he's afraid they'll vanish if he looks away. How long have I been gone? The question makes Chaol flinch. 4 years. You disappeared one night and we searched everywhere. Tore apart every territory, interrogated, every lead, never stopped looking. 4 years. Finn would have been 3 when she was taken, barely more than a toddler. And this man spent 4 years searching, 4 years grieving, 4 years refusing to give up hope. The weight of that devotion is crushing. I'm sorry. For what? For not remembering. For making you search so long. For not being whoever you need me to be. Chaol crosses the room in 3 strides and drops to his knees beside her bed, bringing himself to her eye level. His hands hover near hers, not touching, always asking permission he shouldn't need. You survived. You kept our son alive. That's everything. His voice breaks on the words, and Arya sees the grief there, 4 years of accumulated pain, trying to surface now that it's finally safe. Elena clears her throat delicately. I'll leave you two alone, but Luna Arya needs rest soon. Her body can't take much more stress. The healer leaves and silence fills the space she occupied. Chaol is still on his knees beside the bed, close enough that Arya can feel his warmth, can smell pine and steel, that her wolf recognizes even if her mind doesn't. Tell me about before. About us. The request surprises him, but he nods, settling back on his heels like he's preparing for a long story. We met at the gathering 5 years ago. You were there representing the Blackwood Pack, and I was newly crowned Alpha King. You challenged me to a sparring match in front of everyone. A smile goes across his face, soft with memory. You won. Put me flat on my back in under 3 minutes. I fell in love with you right there in the dirt, looking up at you, standing over me, with this fierce grin like you just conquered the world. The story sounds like it happened to someone else. Arya can't imagine herself confident enough to challenge an Alpha King skilled enough to win. We made it 6 months later under the full moon. You moved to Silvercrest and became Luna. Everyone loved you immediately. You were fair and clever and gave a damn about the pack members who usually got ignored. He talks and Arya listens, filing away details that should feel personal, but land like facts in a history book. Their wedding, how she reorganized the pack's education system, the garden she planted, her friendship with Celeste that apparently started years before the mating. When he gets to Finn's birth, his voice goes soft. 24 hours of labor. You were so strong, never complained once, even when the pain got bad. And when they finally put him in your arms, you looked at him like he was the most precious thing in the universe. Was I good mother? The question cracks something in Chaol's composure. His eyes shine wet. The best. You sang to him every night, made up stories about brave wolves and magical forests. You were terrified of making mistakes, but you loved him so completely that mistakes didn't matter. Past tense, was, did, loved. Like that woman is dead and Arya is just wearing her skin. She closes her eyes and lets exhaustion pull her under Keiko's voice, still weaving stories about a life she can't access anymore. Morning brings Elena with breakfast and news that makes Arya's stomach drop. The council wants to see you today. They're demanding answers about what happened and questioning whether you should be reinstated as Luna. Questioning, because they don't believe her or because they think torture broke her too badly to be useful. Either way, it means facing strangers who will judge her fitness to play a role she doesn't remember. When tonight at sunset, that gives you about 12 hours. 12 hours to figure out how to be Luna, to prepare for questions she can't answer, to face down a council that apparently already doubts her. Finn wakes crying from a nightmare he won't describe, and Arya holds him until the tremors stop. His small body is healing faster than his mind, physical wounds closing, while psychological ones fester beneath the surface. Elena checks his vitals with gentle efficiency. The nightmares are normal. Trauma this severe takes time to process. I can give him something to help him sleep more peacefully. Finn shakes his head against Arya's chest. No more medicine. Medicine makes me hurt. The statement lands heavy. Someone in the fortress was giving him medication that caused pain, more torture disguised as care. Elena's face hardens, but she doesn't push, just makes notes and adjusts his IV drip. Kael appears with clothing for Arya's soft fabrics in blues and grays. The pants fit loose on her too thin frame, but they're comfortable and most importantly, they're not prison rags. I thought you might want to walk through the castle, help orient yourself before tonight. It's an excuse to get her moving, to pull her out of the medical wing's protective bubble and force her to engage with the world she supposedly belongs to. Arya appreciates the tactic even as she resents needing it. Finn wants to come, but Elena gently insists he needs rest. He protests until Arya promises to return soon, to never go far, to always come back. Always. I promise. The castle is massive corridors branching in directions that make no logical sense. Kael leads her through spaces that should feel familiar, but don't: sitting rooms with comfortable furniture, a library that spans 3 floors, formal dining halls with tables that could seat hundreds. Staff members stop and stare everywhere they go. Some bow deeply, others cry, a few try to approach before Kael's presence keeps them at distance. Arya feels their eyes cataloging her, comparing the broken woman walking these halls to whoever she used to be. This was your favorite place. Kael opens doors to a small sitting room filled with windows and bookshelves. Sunlight streams through glass, warming wood floors that probably feel good under bare feet. Arya steps inside and waits for recognition that never comes. Just another pretty room. They keep walking. He shows her the throne room where she'll face the council tonight, all black stone and formal seating arranged to intimidate. Points out the council members' private offices, explains pack hierarchy that sounds complicated and political. Eventually, they reach a corridor that feels different, quieter, more private, guarded by wolves who bow so deeply their foreheads nearly touch the floor. Our chambers, yours and mine. The words hang between them, weighted with everything they imply. Shared space, shared bed, shared life that Arya has no memory of. She forces herself forward through doors carved with wolves and moons. The rooms beyond steal her breath. Not because they're beautiful, though they are, but because the moment she crosses the threshold, her wolf surges up with recognition so powerful it nearly drives her to her knees. Home. The scent hits next. Kael's pine and steel mixed with something floral and warm that must be hers, layered together until they're indistinguishable. Mate scent, pack scent, safety. Does it help being here? Kael's voice is careful, hopeful, terrified of pushing too hard. Arya moves through the space, drinking in details. A desk covered with papers and books, French doors leading to a private balcony, a massive bed with blankets that probably smell like both of them, and on the bedside table a leather journal. She picks it up with trembling hands, opens to the first page. Her handwriting fills the pages, neat script documenting daily life, pack business, personal observations. The entries go back years, mundane details mixed with deeper thoughts. Celeste's name appears frequently in early entries. My best friend, my sister in every way that matters. She helped me arrange flowers for the Luna ceremony. We spent the afternoon planting moon lilies in the garden. The warmth makes Arya nauseous knowing how it ends. She flips forward, scanning quickly. Watching her past self document Finn's growth, her relationship with Kyle, the responsibilities of being Luna. The entries grow shorter as time passes, busier, schedule leaving less time for journaling. Then 3 entries from the end, everything changes. Finn's been sick for 2 weeks. Elena says it's not natural. Someone is poisoning him. Arya's blood runs cold. She reads faster, heart pounding. The next entry, I confronted Celeste about the poison theory. She got defensive, said I was paranoid. But I saw something in her eyes, fear or guilt. And the final entry, written the night before Arya disappeared, Elena confirmed it. Someone is poisoning Finn with wolfsbane and silver. The only people with access to his food. Me, Kale, Elena, and Celeste. Which means the entry ends mid-sentence. Mid-realization. Mid-thought. Kale is reading over her shoulder now, his sharp intake of breath confirming he sees what she sees. She was poisoning our son. The fury in his voice matches what's building in Arya's chest. That woman, that friend, was deliberately hurting Finn, making him sick, creating leverage. There's more. Arya points to a folded paper tucked between the last pages. Opens it carefully to find a hastily written note. If something happens to me, look at Celeste. Trust no one else. Protect Finn at all costs. Dated the day she disappeared. She knew. Before she was taken, she'd figured out Celeste was responsible and left evidence. This changes everything. Kale's voice is cold with certainty. This gives us proof for the council. Written in your own hand, dated clearly. But is it enough? Journal entries could be dismissed as paranoia. They need more testimony, financial records, something concrete. We need to investigate quietly. If we show our hand too early, she'll destroy evidence. Kyle studies her face and something shifts in his expression. Recognition of the woman she was before the Luna, who was tactical and strategic. What do you suggest? Talk to staff who worked closely with her. Find out if anyone saw suspicious behavior. And I need Elena's medical records from when Finn was sick, test results proving the poisoning. Kale nods slowly. Most staff will talk to you willingly, especially if you frame it as recovering memories rather than investigating. Smart. Use her amnesia as cover. The council meeting is tonight. That gives us maybe 8 hours. Not enough for a full investigation, but maybe enough to find pieces that will make the journal impossible to dismiss. Arya spends the day moving through the castle, asking careful questions. Servants are so grateful to see her alive they cry when she approaches, making it easy to steer conversations towards Celeste's behavior over the past 4 years. She learns that Celeste had her own wing, her own loyal staff gradually took over Luna responsibilities until she was Luna in everything but name. That she changed after Arya disappeared, got harder, colder, more ambitious. An older woman in the kitchens pulls Arya aside with tears streaming down her face. I never believed you abandoned your family, Luna. Never, but Lady Celeste was so convincing, so heartbroken. She made everyone believe you'd chosen to leave. The cook's voice drops to a whisper. But there was one of her maids, Maya, who tried to tell us something was wrong. Said she saw Lady Celeste the night you disappeared coming back to the castle with mud on her dress, even though it hadn't rained in weeks. A witness. Someone who saw Celeste acting suspicious the exact night Arya vanished. Where is Maya now? Reassigned to the lower kitchens after the head of household died in an accident. That was right after she tried to speak up. Convenient timing. Arya files this away and keeps moving, keeps gathering pieces. She finds Elena in the medical wing. The healer looks exhausted but determined. I need your records from when Finn was being poisoned. Test results analysis, anything proving it was deliberate. Elena's eyes widen with understanding. She hurries to her office and returns with a thick file blood tests showing elevated wolfsbane levels, analysis of symptoms written, conclusions that this was systematic poisoning, not accidental exposure. Combined with the journal, this proves someone was deliberately hurting Finn. And the note points directly at Celeste. But they still need something tying her to the actual kidnapping, financial records, testimony, physical evidence. Arya thinks about the fortress, how organized it was. That level of operation requires serious funding and coordination. She needs to talk to Marcus. The dungeons make her skin crawl, but she forces herself down the stairs because Marcus might have information they need. Kale tried to come, but she refused this. Needs to be her facing the man who tortured her, proving he doesn't have power over her anymore. Marcus is chained to the wall, silver cuffs preventing any shift or strength. He looks smaller without his authority diminished and pathetic. His eyes track her approach with something that might be respect. Shadow. Come to gloat. Come for information. She stops outside the cell of bars close enough to see him, but not close enough to touch. You said Celeste paid you. I need details, amounts, dates, how money was transferred. Why would I help you? Because right now you're facing execution. But if you cooperate, give us evidence tying Celeste to the conspiracy, the AlphaKing might show mercy. The lie tastes bitter, but she keeps her expression neutral. Marcus considers weighing his options. She visited twice before we took you, came to the fortress personally to check preparations, made sure we had everything needed to break a shadow wolf specifically. The detail makes Arya's blood run cold. When did she last visit? 3 weeks before we grabbed you. She paid the final installment and gave us your exact route when you'd be leaving the castle. Proof that Celeste knew when, and where to find her. I want that deal in writing before I say more. Arya nods and leaves him there, climbing back up toward light and air. She finds Kale in his office, surrounded by papers. Marcus confirms Celeste visited the fortress multiple times and paid for cell preparations specifically designed to break a shadow wolf. And I found a witness, a servant named Maya, who saw Celeste the night I disappeared. Kale's satisfaction is predatory. I pulled Celeste's financial records. Several large payments to a shell company that traces back to Blue Moon Pack's former beta. Same timeline Marcus described. They're building a case piece by piece. By sunset, they have a file 2 inches thick. Journal entries, medical records, financial transactions, Marcus's testimony. Maya's statement. It has to be enough. Arya stands before a mirror trying to look like a Luna. Elena brought formal clothes, a dress and midnight blue hair, pinned to hide healing wounds, makeup covering the worst bruising. She looks almost normal, almost like someone who belongs here. Kale appears behind her reflection, dressed in formal alpha regalia. Ready, no. But she's doing this anyway because Finn deserves justice and she deserves to look Celeste in the face and show her that breaking Arya wasn't enough. The council chamber doors are heavy wood carved with pack symbols. 9 council members wait inside, seated in a semicircle that feels designed to intimidate. And off to the side in a chair that might as well be a throne sits Celeste. She looks perfect, composed, elegant, every hair in place. But when her eyes meet Arya's, something cold flashes there before she smooths it into concern. Arya, I'm so glad you're safe. We've all been so worried. The performance is flawless. Celeste stands and moves forward like she's going to embrace Arya, arms outstretched in welcome. Arya steps back. Don't touch me. The words land harsh in the formal space. Celeste's face does something complicated, hurt confusion that might be genuine if Arya didn't know better. I understand you're overwhelmed. The trauma I remember enough. It's alive, but Celeste doesn't know that. Arya watches uncertainty flicker across the other woman's face before the mask slides back into place. One of the council members clears his throat, an older man with features similar to Celeste's. Her uncle Arya realizes. Theron Vale, Luna Arya, we're grateful for your safe return. But there are questions that need answering. About your disappearance and the circumstances of your absence. The formal language barely disguises the accusation underneath. I was kidnapped, held in a fortress in Blue Moon territory, tortured systematically for months or possibly years. Some council members shift uncomfortably. Others watch with skeptical expressions like they're waiting for her story to fall apart. Theron leans forward. We've heard concerning reports that you left the castle willingly the night you disappeared. That there may have been, he pauses, delicately, personal reasons for your departure. They're accusing her of having an affair, of abandoning her family by choice. Arya feels rage building, but forces it down because losing control won't help. I left to protect my son. Someone was poisoning Finn and threatened to let him die unless I left the castle alone. She pulls out the journal and holds it up. I documented everything. The poisoning, my suspicions, who had access to Finn. Theron waves dismissively. Personal journals can be fabricated after the fact. We need more substantial proof. Kale steps forward, and his presence shifts the energy in the room immediately. We have medical records from our pack healer confirming systematic poisoning. Financial records showing large payments from Lady Celeste to Blue Moon Pack operatives. Testimony from the head guard at the fortress stating Lady Celeste paid for and personally inspected the facilities used to hold my maiden son. The evidence lands like stones. Several council members are leaning forward now, skepticism shifting to interest. But Theron isn't backing down. These are serious accusations against Lady Celeste, who has served this pack faithfully for 4 years in your absence, who helped search for the missing Luna tirelessly. Surely you're not suggesting I'm not suggesting anything. I'm stating facts. Kale's voice carries absolute authority, and those facts will be verified under Truthstone if necessary. The room goes silent. Truthstone ancient magic that forces honesty, that burns liars, that can't be fooled or manipulated. Using it is extreme, usually reserved for trials involving potential execution. Celeste's composure finally cracks slightly. Her voice stays steady, but her eyes betray panic. Your Majesty, surely that's not necessary. The trauma Arya endured may have confused her memories. She's not thinking clearly. Then you have nothing to fear from the stone. Arya's voice is cold. If I'm confused and you're innocent, the stone will prove it, unless you're afraid of what it might reveal. Celeste is trapped. Refusing the stone makes her look guilty. Accepting it risks exposure. Theron tries to intervene. Perhaps we should postpone this until Number Kale's word is absolute. We do this now. Bring the truth stone. Guards leave and return minutes later carrying a crystal the size of a wolf's skull. Black glass threaded with silver veins that pulse like a heartbeat. Just looking at it makes Arya's head ache with memory, being strapped to a table, questions forcing their way into her mind, pain exploding behind her eyes. But she volunteered for this. Time to see it through. The stone is placed on a pedestal at the center of the room. Theron steps forward, clearly intending to ask the questions, but Kyle stops him. I'll conduct this examination. Theron starts to protest, but one look from Kale shuts him down. The Alpha King isn't asking permission. Kale turns to Arya first. We'll start with you. Establish the truth of your account before we question Lady Celeste. Arya steps forward and places her hand on the stone. The contact sends electricity racing up her arm, invasive presence digging into her thoughts. She grits her teeth against the sensation. Did you leave the castle willingly 4 years ago? The stone pulls the answer from her before she can speak it. Yes, gasps ripple through the council. Celeste's expression shifts to triumph. But Kael's not finished. Why did you leave the stone force's memory to surface, being grabbed in the corridor, waking bound Celeste's voice? I've poisoned Finn. Leave now or I let him die, to save my son's life. Someone poisoned him and threatened to let him die unless I left alone. Did you intend to abandon your family permanently, Tome? The stone pulses verifying truth. Did you leave because of romantic involvement with anyone other than your mate? Number absolute certainty. The stone glows steady and clear. Kael steps back and the questions stop, allowing Arya to remove her hand. Her head pounds, but the truth is established. She left to protect Finn, not by choice, not for another man. Now Celeste. Kael's voice is deadly calm. Your turn. Celeste approaches the stone with careful composure, but Arya sees the tremor in her hands as she places her palm against the crystal. Did you poison Finn Rutherford 4 years ago? Celeste tries to resist, but the stone is merciless. Her face contorts with pain as she fights the compulsion. Yes. The word tears from her throat like it's being ripped out. Several council members stand in shock. Why to force Arya to leave? I needed her gone. Did you pay Blue Moon Pack operatives to kidnap her? Yes. No equivocation, no excuses. Just raw truth forced into the open. Why did you want her gone? Celeste's composure shatters completely. Tears stream down her face, but Arya doesn't know if they're from pain or genuine emotion. Because I loved you first. Before she ever met you, I was supposed to be Luna. The confession pours out bitter and desperate. I built a plan. Wasn't the child, force her out, make myself indispensable. I thought with her gone, you'd eventually turn to me. Did you visit the fortress where Arya was held? Yes, twice, to make sure they had everything needed to break her completely. Did you intend for her to survive? Celeste's answer comes quieter. I needed her alive but broken, empty, so she could be brought back but wouldn't remember enough to threaten me. The strategy is chilling in its calculation. Keep Arya alive as insurance but destroy her mind so thoroughly she'd never be a threat. Kale's final question drops like an executioner's blade. Do you regret what you did, the Stone Force's truth? Only that it didn't work. Only that she survived when she should have been destroyed. The council chamber erupts. Several members are shouting. Theron looks like he might be sick. Guards move forward to restrain Celeste, but she's already crumbling the stone's compulsion, having wrung every truth from her. Kale's voice cuts through the chaos. By my authority as Alpha King, Celeste Vale is hereby stripped of all titles and authority. She will be held pending trial for conspiracy, attempted murder of the heir, and treason against the crown. Guards drag Celeste away, still weeping. As she passes Arya, their eyes meet one final time. The hatred there is pure and undiluted. This isn't over. But it is. The truth is out. Celeste is finished. Kale turns to the council. Does anyone else question Luna Arya's right to her position? Silence. Salute incomplete. Then this matter is closed. My mate and son will be given time to heal, and we will begin reforming the systems that allowed this betrayal to go unnoticed for so long. Dismissed. The council files out quickly, leaving Kael and Arya alone in the chamber. She's shaking now, adrenaline crash hitting hard. Kael catches her elbow when her knees start to give. You did it. You faced her down and won. The victory feels hollow. Yes, Celeste is exposed. Yes, justice will be served. But Arya's memories are still gone. Her past is still a locked door. The woman she was before is still out of reach. What happens now? Now we heal. All of us. Together. Kael's certainty should be comforting, but Arya just feels exhausted. She lets him lead her from the chamber through corridors back toward their rooms. Tomorrow she'll start figuring out how to be Luna without knowing how. Tomorrow she'll work on recovering memories that might be gone forever. Tonight she just needs to check on Finn and sleep and believe that maybe possibly they have a chance at something resembling normal. The council chamber clears and Arya thinks it's over. Victory tastes like ash in her mouth. Celeste exposed truth, revealed justice beginning. But the hollow feeling in her chest suggests this is too easy, too clean. Kale's hand is on her elbow, guiding her toward the doors when sound erupts from the corridor outside. Shouting, metal clashing, the distinctive crack of bones breaking. His body shifts instantly into combat readiness, positioning himself between Arya and whatever's coming. The chamber doors burst open and guards flood in, but not Kael's guards. These wear different insignia faces she recognizes from Celeste's personal detail. Half the fucking security force was hers. Kael's growl reverberates through the stone chamber as more guards pour in, weapons drawn. A coordinated assault planned in advance triggered the moment Celeste was convicted. The lead guard, massive wolf with a scar bisecting his face, levels a crossbow at Kael's chest. Stand down, Your Majesty. Lady Celeste walks free tonight or things get messy. Arya's counting heads. 12 guards loyal to Celeste versus Kael and whatever backup can reach them. The math isn't good. Her wolf snarls uselessly beneath wolfsbane that still dulls her senses, makes her slow and weak when she needs to be anything but. Where is she? Kael's voice is deadly calm, alpha authority radiating from every word. The scarred guard doesn't flinch. Heading for the stables. She'll be gone within the hour. You'll let her go, or your mate bleeds out on this floor. The crossbow swings toward Arya. She holds perfectly still because that bolt is silver-tipped, and at this range it'll punch straight through her heart before her wolf can even register the threat. Kael's hands are fists at his sides, every muscle coiled for violence. He can't unleash without getting Arya killed. His eyes find hers for 1 second apology and fury and desperate calculation. Let me go after her. Arya's voice cuts through the tension. Every head swivels toward her. I'll bring Celeste back. Your people stand down. I walk out alone. She doesn't escape. The scarred guard laughs, short and brutal. You can barely stand. Silver poisoning and wolfsbane saturation make you the weakest wolf in this castle. Why would we let you anywhere near her? Because I'm the only one she'll stop running for. The only one she wants to break more than she wants freedom. Truth lands heavy. Celeste's obsession wasn't about escaping consequences. It was about destroying Arya completely, proving herself superior, winning whatever twisted competition she'd been playing in her head for years. Kael's protest comes immediate. Absolutely not. I'm not letting you. You don't have a choice. Arya steps toward the door and the crossbow tracks her movement. She meets the scarred guard's eyes without flinching. Let me pass. I'll bring her back. Dead or alive, she doesn't leave Silver Crest territory. The guard considers weighing options. His finger rests on the trigger, and Arya watches the calculation happen: kill the Luna now and start a war they'll lose, or let her chase Celeste and maybe both problems solve themselves. Fine, but if she escapes, we're coming for your son. The threat detonates through Arya's chest. Dussum. Finn. Sleeping in the medical wing, vulnerable and unprotected. Touch him and there won't be enough left of you to burn. The promise is absolute. Something in her voice makes even the scarred guard hesitate. Then he's gesturing to his team and they're backing toward the doors, weapons still trained on Kyle, creating an exit path for Arya. She moves quickly before KL can physically stop her. Through the doors, down corridors, following the scent trail of fear and perfume that Celeste left in her wake. Behind her, KL's roar shakes the castle walls, but she doesn't stop, doesn't slow, just runs toward whatever ending this night is hurtling toward. The stables are on the eastern edge of the castle grounds, massive structure housing dozens of horses for pack members who prefer traditional transportation. Arya bursts through the doors and finds organized chaos. Celeste struggling with a stallion that doesn't want to be saddled, two more guards trying to help while keeping watch on the entrances. Celeste spins when she hears footsteps. Her perfect composure has shattered completely, hair while dress, torn eyes blazing with something between rage and madness. Come to gloat. Come to finish this. Arya stops 10 feet away, hands visible and empty. The guards have weapons drawn, but Celeste waves them back with sharp gestures. I want to do this myself. She pulls a knife from her belt, silver blade, catching lantern light. Not standard issue, this is personal, something she's been carrying specifically for this moment. 4 years I spent building a perfect plan, positioning myself exactly where I needed to be, making everyone trust me, love me, need me. Celeste moves closer, knife loose in her practiced grip. And you survived. Kept your mind intact enough to remember just enough to destroy everything I built. I didn't survive to spite you. I survived because I had a son who needed his mother. The words hit something in Celeste because her face contorts with genuine pain beneath the anger. I could have been a mother, could have given Cahill children, built a family, been everything you were. But he never looked at me, never saw me as anything except your replacement. She lunges and Arya barely dodges silver blade whistling past her ribs. Her body is too slow, reflexes dulled by months of torture and chemical suppression. The second strike catches her arm, opens a line of fire across her bicep. Blood wells hot and red. Celeste's smile is vicious. You're weak, broken. Whatever you were before that woman is gone. All that's left is this pathetic shell playing at being Luna. Maybe she's right. Maybe the woman KL loved doesn't exist anymore. But this shell protected Finn in that fortress, survived torture that should have killed her, exposed Celeste's conspiracy through sheer stubborn determination. This shell is enough. Arya moves inside Celeste's next strike, too close for the knife to be effective. Her fist connects with Celeste's and pain explodes up her arm, but Celeste staggers back, surprise flashing across her face. The guards start forward, but Celeste snarls at them to stay back. This is personal. This is about proving who's stronger, who deserves to stand beside Kyle, who wins the game that only Celeste was playing. They circle each other in the stable's center. Horses stamp nervously in their stalls, sensing predator violence. Arya is bleeding from the arm wound, but ignores it, focuses on Celeste's grip on the knife, the way she favors her right side. You know what the worst part is? Celeste's voice drips venom. He never stopped loving you. 4 years of me being perfect, being exactly what he needed, and he still loved a ghost more than he could ever love me. That's not love. That's obsession. Call it whatever you want. I loved him first. Before you ever walked into his life, I should have been Luna. She attacks again, faster now, rage making her sloppy. The knife slashes and Arya twists, feels the blade kiss her ribs, but not deep enough to puncture. Her elbow comes up and catches Celeste's temple, snapping her head sideways. They crash into a stall door. Wood splinters. The horse inside screams and kicks massive hooves, barely missing Arya's head. She rolls away and comes up, gasping ribs, screaming protest. Celeste is on her feet faster than she should be, knife raised. Her next strike would have gutted Arya, except movement explodes from the stable entrance. Kale finally free guards, unconscious or dead behind him. His eyes find Arya bleeding and his expression goes absolutely feral. Celeste sees him and her composure cracks completely. The knife drops from nerveless fingers as reality hits. She's lost. KL is here. Arya is alive. The escape failed. It's over. Please. The word comes out small and desperate. Please, I did it because I loved you. Everything I did was because you tortured my mate, poisoned my son, destroyed dozens of lives for your own ambition. KL's voice is cold as winter stone. There's no redemption for that. He moves towards Celeste, and Arya sees it happening in slow motion, sees him reaching for her throat, sees the intent to kill written in every line of his body, sees justice about to be delivered with brutal finality. Wait, her voice stops him mid-motion. KL's eyes swing toward her confusion and barely leashed fury warring across his face. Not like this. Not murder in a stable. She deserves a trial and execution, public justice, so everyone knows what she did. But more than that, Arya needs this to be done right. Needs to prove they're better than Celeste's scheming and violence. Needs to show Finn when he's old enough to understand that monsters get defeated through law and order, not just tooth and claw. Kale struggles with it, every instinct screaming to end the threat permanently. But finally he nods and turns back to Celeste. Guards are arriving now, real ones this time, loyal wolves who answer to Kyle. They take Celeste into custody with silver cuffs and chains, dragging her past Arya toward the dungeons. As she passes, Celeste's eyes meet Arya's one final time. This isn't over. Yes, it is. But the words feel hollow because nothing is truly over until the threat is neutralized completely, and living threats have ways of causing problems. Kyle catches Arya before her knees give out blood loss and exhaustion, finally catching up. His hands are gentle, despite the violence still coursing through him. You're bleeding. Notice that. She tries for humor, but it comes out weak. Kale lifts her easily, cradling her against his chest like she weighs nothing. The movement pulls at her wounds, and she hisses through her teeth. I've got you. Always. He carries her through corridors toward the medical wing, and Arya lets herself go limp in his arms, lets someone else handle the crisis for just a few minutes. Elena will patch her up, Finn will be safe, Celeste will face proper justice. Everything should be fine. Except when they reach the medical wing, the doors are standing open and the guards posted there are unconscious on the floor. Arya is in the room before KL can stop her heart-pounding terror through her veins. The beds are empty. Finn's blankets thrown back. No sign of Elena or the boy. A note pinned to Finn's pillow, written in handwriting that isn't Celeste's. Fair trade. The boy for Lady Celeste's freedom. Stables at dawn. Come alone or he dies. The scarred guard. The threat he made in the council chamber. Touch him and there won't be enough left of you to burn. Except Arya wasn't fast enough. Wasn't thorough enough. Didn't account for backup plans. They have her son. The wolf inside her, suppressed for months, caged by wolfsbane and silver, erupts with fury so profound that reality itself seems to bend. Black mist explodes from Arya's skin, shadows writhing like living things. The air pressure in the room drops until ears pop. Kale actually steps back, eyes wide, because he's never seen Shadow Wolf power manifest like this, raw and uncontrolled and absolutely lethal. Where? Arya's voice doesn't sound human anymore, layered with harmonics that make the windows rattle. Kale's already pulling out his phone, already calling his trackers, already mobilizing every resource. But Arya isn't waiting for backup or plans or strategy. She's out the door and running before anyone can stop her. The wolf is guiding her now, following a scent trail invisible to normal senses. Finn's fear in the scarred guard's bitter determination, and something else. Something off about this whole situation that her instincts can't quite identify. The trail leads through the castle and out into the grounds toward a building she hasn't seen yet. Old stone structures separate from the main castle windows, dark feeling wrong in ways that make her hackles rise. The door is unlocked. Inside smells like fear and silver and her son's terror. Arya moves through darkness like she was born to it. Shadow Wolf abilities, letting her see in pitch black, letting her sense heat, signatures, and heartbeats. 3 humans up ahead. No, not humans, wolves suppressing their scent to avoid detection. And in the center, Finn, he's bound to a chair, silver rope around his wrists burning his skin, cloth gag in his mouth. Gray eyes wide with terror that breaks into desperate hope when he sees her. The scarred guard steps from the shadows, knife pressed to Finn's throat. Didn't come alone. Arya glances behind her and sees Cal silhouetted in the doorway, 30 more wolves at his back, ready to tear this building apart. But one wrong move and Finn dies. Let him go. Her voice is steady despite the terror clawing at her chest. You have me. That's what Celeste wanted anyway. Let my son walk out of here. The guard considers. His two companions shift nervously because the black mist still wreathing Arya's body is unnatural, frightening even veteran fighters. You think you can trade yourself. You're already dying from silver poisoning and wolfsbane. You're worth nothing. Then killing me costs you nothing. But touching my son again costs you everything. The promise resonates with power that makes the guard's hand tremble. He's not dominant enough to withstand direct challenge from a shadow wolf, even one as damaged as Arya. His knife presses harder against Finn's throat. A thin line of blood appears. Finn makes a sound behind the gag, small and terrified, and Arya's control shatters. The wolf explodes from her skin faster than physics should allow. Silver cuffs meant to prevent shifting shatter, like glass superheated by power that's been caged too long. Her body elongates and reforms bones, rearranging muscles, building mass from pure fury. The shadow wolf that emerges is massive, easily twice the size of a normal shifter fur, black as midnight, eyes glowing with bioluminescent silver. Darkness clings to her like fog tendrils of living shadow extending from her body. The scarred guard has exactly 1 second to register what's happening before Arya's jaws close around his wrist. Bone crunches. The knife clatters away. He screams and she releases him only to lunge for his throat. Kale's shout penetrates the blood rage. Arya, no. You kill him and you're no better than Celeste. The words reach her, somehow pull her back from the edge of murder. She releases the guard's throat without tearing it out, standing over him with teeth bared, every instinct screaming to end the threat permanently. The other two guards are already on their knees, throat bared in submission. They know better than to fight a shadow wolf in protective rage mode. Arya shifts back to human, the transformation smoother than anything she's managed in months. Her body is healing as she moves silver burns, closing wounds, knitting together wolfsbane purging from her system as her wolf finally reasserts dominance. She tears the gag from Finn's mouth and breaks the silver ropes with her bare hands, ignoring the way they burn. He throws himself into her arms, sobbing, and she holds him so tight it must hurt, but he doesn't complain. Just buries his face in her neck and cries, "Mama, you came, I knew you'd come." The words tumble out between sobs. Arya strokes his hair with shaking hands, breathing in his scent, confirming he's alive and whole. Always, little wolf, always. Kale is beside them now, wrapping both of them in his arms, creating a protective circle of packet and family. His voice rumbles against Arya's shoulder. That was the most terrifying and impressive thing I've ever seen. The guards are being taken into custody by Kael's wolves, dragged away toward the dungeons. The scarred one is still conscious, bleeding from the wrist, eyes glazed with shock. They'll face trial too. Conspiracy, kidnapping, attempted murder of the heir. Death sentences for all of them. Justice. Real and final and absolute. 3 days later, public executions are held in the castle courtyard. The entire pack attends, thousands of wolves gathering to witness justice for crimes against their Luna and heir. Celeste dies first, beheaded cleanly by Kael's hand. Her loyalist guards follow. It's brutal and medieval, and absolutely necessary to send a message. This pack protects its own, and betrayal from within will be answered with lethal finality. Arya watches from the castle balcony, Finn pressed against her side. Elena insisted they shouldn't attend, but Arya needs to see, it needs confirmation that the threat is truly ended. When Celeste's head rolls, Arya feels nothing. No satisfaction, no grief, just hollow acknowledgement that a chapter is closed. Finn buries his face in her side and she pulls him closer. Is she really gone? Really gone. But nightmares don't end with executions. Healing takes longer than a swift blade. The first month is hardest. Finn wakes screaming most nights, reliving torture or kidnapping, or both. Arya holds him through the terror, singing songs she doesn't remember learning, stroking his hair until he falls back asleep. Her own nightmares are worse, Marcus's face leering over her, silver burning through skin, Celeste's knife at Finn's throat. She wakes gasping and finds Kael already awake beside her hand, reaching for hers in the dark. They don't talk about it, just hold each other until dawn breaks and they can pretend to be functional again. Elena sets up therapy sessions, not traditional counseling, but pack bonds group healing, where survivors of the fortress can share experiences and process trauma together. Arya attends every session, even when she'd rather hide, because these people deserve to see their Luna refuses to be broken. Finn starts drawing endless pictures of wolves and fortresses and families. Elena says it's healthy working through trauma creatively. Arya hangs every picture on their chamber walls, watching the progression from dark, violent images to softer scenes of safety. 6 weeks after Celeste's execution, memory returns. Not gradually, not gently. All at once, while Arya is standing in the garden planting moonlilies with Finn, his small hands patting dirt around roots trigger something in the same action years ago, Celeste laughing beside her as they planted this same garden. And suddenly Arya's drowning in recollection, meeting Kael at the gathering, challenging him to that sparring match. The stunned look on his face when she put him on his back. Their mating ceremony under the full moon, the pack bond snapping into place like coming home. Finn's birth. 24 hours of agony that became joy when they placed him in her arms. His first shift at age 2, tiny wolf cubs stumbling on 2 big paws. The lullabies she sang every night, stories she invented about brave wolves and magical forests. Her friendship with Celeste, genuine and warm before it curdled. The moment she realized Finn was being poisoned. The confrontation. The kidnapping. Everything floods back in crystalline detail, and Arya gasps, staggers, drops to her knees in the garden dirt. Finn's panicked. Mama, Mama, what's wrong? Kael appears from nowhere, pulling her against his chest. Breathe, just breathe. She's sobbing now, overwhelmed by the weight of everything she forgot and just remembered. 4 years of missing time filling in like puzzle pieces, snapping into place. I remember. The words come out choked. Kael's arms tighten. Everything, everything. And it's too much, too overwhelming, too heavy. The woman she was before the fortress feels like a stranger, but also intimately familiar. The life they had, the trust that was shattered, the violence that stole her memories, all of it crashes through her at once. But underneath the pain, there's something else. Recognition. She knows Kael now, not just as mate her wolf recognizes, but as the man she fell in love with. Knows his laugh and his temper and the way he fidgets when he's nervous. Knows Finn not just as the boy she protected, but as the son she carried and birthed and loved every second of his small life. The memories hurt, but they're hers. She's reclaiming herself piece by piece. That night after Finn falls asleep, Arya and Kael sit on their private balcony under stars that feel newly familiar. His arm is around her shoulders, and she's tucked against his side in a position that's comfortable, because they've sat like this 1,000 times before. Do you feel different? Now that you remember, Arya considers, does she feel different or just more complete? I feel like I'm meeting myself for the first time after being a stranger. The woman I was before the fortress and the woman who survived it, they're both me, but also neither of them is fully me anymore. His hand finds hers, fingers lacing together. I fell in love with you twice. Once 5 years ago, and again watching you survive hell and come back fighting. The declaration makes her chest ache in the best way. She turns in his arms until she can see his face properly, trace the scar through his eyebrow, meet his eyes without hesitation. I remember loving you, and I'm falling in love with you again. The man who never gave up, who searched for 4 years, who believed me when no one else would. He kisses her, then finally, after weeks of careful distance and asking permission. It's gentle and desperate and tastes like coming home after a war. When they break apart, Arya rests her forehead against his. We're going to be okay. All of us. 6 months later, and the statement proves true. Morning finds Arya in a council meeting discussing trade agreements with neighboring packs. She's good at this, the politics and strategy and careful negotiation. Some skills the torturer didn't touch because they're a bone-deep part of who she is, regardless of memory. Afterwards, she finds Finn in the castle library with Elena learning about pack history. He's healthier now, filling out, smile coming easier. The nightmares are less frequent. He'll carry scars, but he's healing. He runs to her when the lesson ends, excited to show her what he learned about Shadow Wolf lineage. Arya admires his notes and drawings, pride swelling in her chest. That evening, the family has dinner together in their private chambers. Just the 3 of them, no servants or guards pretending to be normal. Finn tells elaborate stories about his day, gesturing wildly, making them both laugh. After he goes to bed, KL pulls Arya close, and they slow dance to music only they can hear swaying in the firelight. Her head rests on his chest, listening to his heartbeat, feeling his warmth. This is happiness. Not the uncomplicated kind from before trauma, but something harder won and more precious. The happiness of surviving together, of choosing each other again after everything tried to tear them apart. Later, lying in bed with Kyle's arms around her, Arya stares at the ceiling and takes inventory. The physical wounds have healed. The silver and wolfsbane purged from her system. Her wolf is strong again. Shadow abilities more controlled with practice. The psychological wounds are still healing. Probably will be forever. She jumps at sudden noises. Can't stand being in confined spaces. Has panic attacks when she smells wolfsbane. But she's managing. They all are. Building new routines, new trust, new ways of being a family. A messenger arrives at breakfast with news that makes Arya's blood run cold. Reports of disappearances in the Northern Territories, wolves vanishing without trace, same pattern as before. Kyle reads the report with growing concern. They're asking for help. Our experience, our knowledge of how these operations work. Arya meets his eyes across the table. She could say no, could focus on her own healing, her own pack, her own family. No one would blame her for staying home after what she survived. But those wolves in the north are living her nightmare. And she has the knowledge to help them, the experience to recognize signs that others might miss. We should go. Finn stays here with Elena where he's safe, but you and I, we can help them. Are you sure she's not? But she's certain enough. Those wolves deserve someone who understands what they're going through. Someone who survived it and can prove it's possible to come back from hell. Kale's pride is visible in his expression. He reaches across the table and takes her hand. Then we go. Together. The word resonates. Together. Not him rescuing her or her proving herself alone. Partners facing threats as equals. 2 weeks later, they're traveling north with a small team following leads on the missing wolves. Arya brings her journal documentation of everything that was done to her and how she survived. If they find another fortress, another conspiracy, she'll know what signs to look for. The last entry in her journal, written the night before they leave: I am Arya Blackwood Rutherford, Luna of Silvercrest Pack, mate to Kael, mother to Finn, survivor of torture that should have destroyed me. I don't know what we'll find in the north. Don't know if we can save everyone or if we're walking into another nightmare. But I know I'm not the broken prisoner they tried to create, not the perfect Luna I was before. I'm something new, scarred and healing and stronger for having survived. They tried to erase me, to break me, to make me forget who I was. They failed. And if there are others out there living my nightmare, I'll find them. I'll bring them home. I'll prove that darkness doesn't win, that torture doesn't define you, that love is stronger than any cage they build. This is only the beginning. Arya closes the journal and tucks it into her pack. Through the window, dawn breaks over Silvercrest Castle, painting stone walls gold. Kel is waiting for her downstairs. Finn is safe with Elena, protected by guards they trust completely. The world is vast and full of threats, but also full of possibility. She's reclaimed herself, her family, her life. Now it's time to help others do the same. She takes one last look at their chambers, the bed they share, the pictures Finn drew covering the walls, the life they rebuilt from ashes. Then she walks toward whatever comes next, head high, wolf strong beneath her skin, ready for everything.